Now, why am I sharing this with you today? It's to tell you that I don't follow a dead prophet. I'm not following Muhammad, or Krishna, Charles Taze Russell, Joseph Smith. They're all dead. I'll follow the only one who beat the grave. And who beat the grave? Jesus Christ. And he's alive forevermore. And the thing is this, right? We know he beat the grave because of the change that we see in the disciples. The disciples had just gone back to their own jobs. They weren't interested in speaking about Jesus anymore until they saw him risen from the dead. And that changed everything. You see, they were given a choice. When they were arrested, they were told, stop preaching about the resurrection and we'll let you live. But they carried on preaching about the resurrection of Jesus Christ and they were put to death. Now, people try and tell you that they stole his body. But if they stole his body, then they knew that they'd stolen his body. And that meant they were dying for what they knew to be a lie. And nobody dies for what they know to be a lie. Now, I've had to change what I used to say. I used to say no one dies for a lie. Well, people do die for a lie. Because people, in the name of religion, go around blowing themselves up and blowing other people up as well, and thinking that by doing that, they're going to go straight to paradise. Well, that's dying for a lie, isn't it? Because that is not what's going to happen. But no one dies for what they know to be a lie. And if the disciples had stolen Jesus' body, then they knew that they were dying for a lie. No. They saw him risen from the dead, along with hundreds of other people. And we know it's the truth as well, because did you know that Mark's gospel was written just 30 years after these things took place? That means he was writing about the resurrection while all the eyewitnesses to the resurrection and to the death of Jesus were still alive. That means he was writing about all the miracles that Jesus did while all the eyewitnesses to the miracles were still alive. And that's how we know that the Bible is true, that the New Testament is true, that the gospel accounts are true. Now, if you look at Muhammad, for example, what we know about Muhammad only got started to be written 180 years after his death. So can we really trust what the Quran says and what other writers say about the like the Hadith? What they say about Muhammad? 180 years after his death? You could write anything 180 years after somebody's death. You know? Let's say, for example, what's your name, sir? What's your name? This fellow walking with a dog here. What's your name, sir? Just for point of illustration, what's your name? My name's Paul. What's your name?
All right, no problem.
Harry?
There you go.
What, sorry?
It's all right.
No, I just need someone's name. Right, what's your name, madam? Taylor. Right, Taylor, yeah? Right. Sorry? No, I don't, but I just want to use an example. So Taylor, for example, let's say that Taylor, right, a few years later, let's say something really, really, you know, she ends up passing away, yeah? Let's say I write a book about Taylor and I say that Taylor did loads of miracles in Wigan, yeah? And she, like, you know, she raised the dead and she brought guys out of wheelchairs and it was amazing. Now, if I wrote that just about 10, 20, 30 years after she's passed away, then what would happen? You would just throw that book in a bin and say, it's a lot of baloney, that. We remember Taylor. She didn't do those kind of miracles. You're talking nonsense. So, do you get me point? The fact that the Bible speaks about Jesus doing all these miracles, and then Mark, Matthew, and Luke wrote about it while the eyewitnesses were still alive, proves that it was true, doesn't it? So Jesus did do these miracles. He did bring people back from the dead to show he had power over the grave. He came back from the dead himself to prove who he was. And who is he? I'll tell you who he is. He's the Son of God. But he's not just the Son of God. You see, all these religions will tell you that he is not God. Whereas Christianity says he's not just the Son of God, he is God. He is God. See, Jehovah's Witnesses, they think he's not God. Joseph Smith and the Mormons, they think he's not God. Muhammad thinks he's the greatest prophet that ever lived, but they don't think he's God. Islam doesn't think that Jesus is God. But Jesus thought he was God. So that means he was either mad, or he's bad for lying about it, or he was actually God. Mad, bad, or God. Those are your options today. He's either a liar, a lunatic, or he is Lord. Now, how do I know that he thought he was the Son of God? Because when Thomas came to him a week later and finally saw him, because we've all heard of doubting Thomas, haven't we? Thomas was the one who said, look, unless I, see him with my own eyes, I'm not going to believe that Jesus has risen from the dead. A week later, he did see with his own eyes, and was able to agree with the disciples that they were telling the truth all along because they saw him a week earlier. And he got down on his knees, Thomas, and he bowed before Jesus and said, my Lord and my God. Thomas worshipped Jesus. You only worship God. And Jesus didn't say, get up, I'm just a man. Or get up, I'm just an angel. Okay? Like some of these other religions will tell you. No. He allowed him to worship him because he is God. And that's what you have to believe about Jesus. You have to realize that he is God. That he is God's son. That he came into this world to save sinners. And do you know what he said? He said something else in the book of John. John chapter 14, verse 6. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me.